Lifting weights does improve your sleep. Where it ranks depends on who you are. In general adults, it ranks 4th out of 6 exercise types. In older adults with diagnosed insomnia, it ranks 1st. Picture heavy squats, finished at 9 at night. It is 1 in the morning. You are flat on your back. Your quads are still humming. The sheets are kicked off. You are watching the ceiling. The clock says you have been in bed 40 minutes. 5 studies, 5 chapters. Chapter 5 is the one that runs the whole thing backwards. 13 people gave up a single night of sleep. They lost 18% of something their training was supposed to keep. 2 research teams pooled the same field in the same year. Both asked what lifting does to your sleep. One ranked lifting 4th. The other ranked it 1st. That disagreement is the episode. It is not a footnote to smooth over. So here is the rule of this show, said out loud. 5 studies sit behind this video. 4 of them are built on randomized controlled trials. Wang, 86 trials, 7,276 people. Bahalathan, 24 trials, 2,170 people. Souza, an unblind parallel group trial, 28 people. Lemon, a randomized crossover, 13 people. Then exactly 1 observational study. Leota, 14,689 people wearing devices. More than 4 million nights of measured sleep. 2 promises, and I keep both. Every chapter opens by naming its study out loud. Then it says trial or observational before anything else. Every sample size gets stated, including the embarrassingly small ones. The observational one can only show what travels together. It can never show what causes what. So when we get there, we stop at associated with. Start with the widest view the research gives you. In 2025, one team pooled the whole field of exercise and sleep. 86 randomized trials gathered into a single network analysis. 7,276 people inside them. Randomized trials, so this one can speak to cause and effect. That is the strongest kind of evidence you will hear today. 6 kinds of exercise went into the comparison. Aerobic, resistance, the 2 combined, yoga, Pilates, and traditional Chinese exercise. Lifting worked. Against the control groups, strength training moved sleep quality by -1.12. A standardized difference is just a way to compare trials that measured sleep in different ways. The interval runs from -1.8 to -0.44. All of it sits below 0, and the p-value came in under 0.01. It is a real effect, not a rounding error. Then the ranking arrives. Strength training scored 58.6% on the ranking measure. That put it 4th out of the 6. 4th, not 1st. It works, and 3 other things worked better here. If you came in expecting lifting to be the sleep cure, this is where that shrinks. The analysis also looked at dose. The best overall dose landed near 920 MET-minutes a week. 600 MET-minutes a week still produced a moderate effect. In strength training terms, that works out to roughly 184 minutes a week. About 3 hours under the bar. That is a target you can actually hit, not a rebuilt life. And do not read that number as a floor or a ceiling. The paper says plainly that the dose curve for resistance training on its own was not statistically significant. So more is not automatically better here. The honest summary is smaller than the one you walked in with. Lifting helps you sleep, and among adults in general it finishes 4th. Hold that as the first fixed point of the episode. It is an average, taken across every one those 86 trials happen to enroll. Change who is in the room, and this ranking does not shift slightly. It turns over completely. A second team ran the same kind of analysis on a narrower group. It was a systematic review and network meta-analysis of randomized trials. 24 randomized trials went into the network. 2,170 people in total. Mean age 70.38 years, plus or minus 4.56. Every one of them had diagnosed insomnia by symptom criteria or DSM-5. About 80% were living at home in the community. The other 20% were in care facilities. On average, 71.85% were women. In that room, strength training came first. Not fourth, first. Against usual activity, sleep quality improved by 5.75 points. The range around that ran from 8.06 down to 3.45. Its ranking score was 94.6. Now look at what it beat. Sleep education came second at 4.63 points. Aerobic exercise came third at 3.76. Combined training came fourth at 2.54. Usual activity finished last with a ranking score of 9.6. That second place matters more than it looks. Sleep education is the sleep hygiene advice you get handed first. Lifting beat it. And it beat aerobic exercise by roughly 2 points on the same scale. These were randomized trials, not a pattern someone noticed later. So put the two analyses side by side. They are not fighting. Neither one is wrong. Wang asked what helps adults in general sleep better. Bahalayathan asked what helps a 70-year-old with insomnia sleep better. Same training, different people, different answer. So the honest answer to does lifting help you sleep is, it depends who is asking. That is the most useful sentence in this video. 2 limits, and neither is small. This does not stretch to everyone. The evidence here covers people around 70 with a diagnosis. And nobody compared lifting to sleeping pills. No drug was tested anywhere in this analysis. Which leaves the obvious question. If lifting does this to a 70-year-old sleep, what changes in the night? One trial went inside the night and measured it. It ran in the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health in 2022. Before the numbers, the size. 28 people. That is the whole trial. 14 lifted. 14 did not. They were older adults with sarcopenia, the muscle loss that comes with age. The lifting group averaged 74.6 years. The control group averaged 77.4. It was randomized, and it was unblind. Everyone knew which group they were in. Keep that in your head for the rest of this chapter. The training was 12 weeks long. 3 sessions a week, 8 exercises each time. The load started at 50% of 1 rep max and climbed to 75. Then they measured how long it took people to fall asleep. In the lifting group, 16.09 minutes. In the control group, 29.98 minutes. Roughly half, at p equals 0.04. The spread inside each group was wide, so hold that number gently. This is what the big averages were averaging over. The second finding is the more interesting one. Deep sleep, stage N3. The lifting group changed by 0.7%. The control group dropped by 4.9%. So the honest sentence is not that lifting added deep sleep. It is that over 12 weeks the control group lost deep sleep and the lifters did not. Losing deep sleep is what aging normally does. Training appeared to hold that off. Sleep quality scores fell 1.5 points in the lifters and did not move in the control group. Insomnia severity went from 8.71 down to 5.14. Apnea events went from 16.82 an hour down to 7.37. That last one comes with a limit, said in the same breath. This trial was not designed to test sleep apnea treatment. It is a signal worth noting and nothing to act on. 28 people. A result this clean in a group this small is a lead, not a settled fact. And none of it explains the night you lifted late and then lay there awake. There is a study built for exactly that night. It tracked 14,689 people. Their watches recorded over 4 million nights of sleep across a full year. That scale is the reason to take a correlation seriously. Nobody was told to train. Nobody was assigned to anything. This one is observational. It watches what people already do. So every number in this chapter is an association. It is not a cause. The headline finding is still the one you can use. When exercise finished 4 or more hours before sleep onset, no change in sleep was seen. That held regardless of intensity. So the problem is not the night itself. It is the finish time and the intensity together. Here is the number you will actually use. Among sessions ending about 2 hours before bed, going from maximal intensity to light intensity was associated with falling asleep 36 minutes sooner. Total sleep was 5.4% higher. Resting heart rate through the night was 6.8% lower. Heart rate variability was 14.1% higher. Same window before bed. Only the intensity changed. The gradient runs the way you would guess. Later finish times and higher intensities tracked with longer sleep onset, shorter sleep, and worse quality. Now the part this chapter exists for. This looks like it contradicts the last 2 chapters. It does not. There are 2 reasons. First, timescale. This study measured what one session did to that same night. The trials measured what months of steady training did to sleep overall. The 2 findings live on different clocks. Second, exposure. This study tracked general exercise of every kind, not lifting specifically. So both readings are true at once. Train consistently, and your sleep improves over months. Finish an all-out session 2 hours before bed, and you may pay for it tonight. Aim to finish 4 hours before sleep onset. If you cannot, keep that last session light. And hold it the way the data holds it. This is an association from watching people, not proof that moving your session causes the change. Now run the whole thing backwards. Everything so far has been training buying you sleep. This last piece is sleep buying you training. And it is the direction nobody plans for. Lamont and colleagues ran a randomized crossover trial in 13 people. 13. That is a small trial, and it should stay small in your head. 7 men, 6 women, aged 18 to 35. Every one of them did both conditions. 1 night of no sleep at all, 30 hours awake. And 1 normal night. The 2 nights were at least 4 weeks apart. So each person served as their own control. That design is the strong part. After the sleepless night, muscle protein synthesis fell 18%. 1 night did that. Then the hormones moved with it. Testosterone came down 24%. Cortisol went up 21%. Across the working day, 10 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, cortisol sat 21% higher. 1 night changed the environment your training is supposed to be building in. Now the discipline, because this is the easiest number here to overstate. What they measured was a synthesis rate over a few hours. They did not measure muscle mass. So do not say that losing sleep makes you lose muscle. And this was 1 acute night. It says nothing about weeks of short nights. The authors list their own limits, so here they are. The tissue samples they could take were small. Carbohydrate intake could have shifted the result. Nobody drew blood overnight, because people slept in their own beds. Everyone was mildly short on sleep before the trial even started. There was no sleep lab recording. And the trial was too small to detect a difference between men and women. So that question stays open. Hold all of that, and one thing still stands. 13 people, each measured twice, and the rate moved. Which gives you the round trip this whole episode has been walking toward. Chapters 2 and 3 showed training buying you sleep. This one shows sleep is what lets the training land. You lift to sleep. You sleep to make the lifting count. Back at the start, one number was left hanging. That was Chapter 5. 13 healthy adults, awake for 30 hours straight. Muscle protein synthesis fell 18%. Testosterone dropped 24%. Cortisol rose 21%. Hold the limits in the same breath. That is a synthesis rate measured over hours in 13 people after one night. It is not muscle mass, and it is not a month of bad sleep. So the whole episode comes down to a round trip. Train, and your sleep gets better. Sleep badly, and the training never gets to land. 3 lines to take with you. 1. Roughly 184 minutes of strength work a week. That is the dose that falls out of Wang's curve in general adults. The effect is real, but lifting came fourth of 6. So lift for your sleep. Do not expect it to beat everything else. 2. If you are around 70 and you have insomnia, this is where the evidence is strongest. Lifting moved PSQI down 5.75 points. That put it ahead of aerobic exercise and ahead of sleep education. For that group, lifting for sleep is the leading recommendation, not one option among several. 3. Finish 4 or more hours before you fall asleep. If you cannot, make that last session a light one. And that one is an association Leota measured across 4,084,354 nights. Measured, not proven. Keep the 2 small numbers in view. 28 people in the sleep lab trial. 13 in the sleepless night study. Numbers that size buy you a direction, not a certainty. The barbell and the pillow are the same project. Skip either one, and the other pays for it.